On July 21st, at about 9 in the morning, I noticed that Elfin was going from litter box to litter box. So, of course, I immediately became alarmed because he has had urinary issues in the past. 2017, he spent about a week at the vet. He had crystals and he was on a catheter and put on a special diet. He has been the cat that pees outside the box and pees on the furniture, and that is part of those urinary issues. And after about 45 minutes of this, watching him very carefully, I finally saw some blood. So I knew that we were going to have to rush to the vet. I called the vet that treated him in the past, and I found out that was a very different situation there because of COVID, that they had very limited hours. This vet is a fabulous vet. He's very old-fashioned, but there are no appointments. You just have to go and wait. And they told me, you better hurry up and get here, because there's already a line of 5 people. I grabbed my iPad. I got Elfin in the bathroom and put him in a carrier, and off we went. I put up a quick post on social media asking people to please pray for him. When I got home later that night, I was so blown away by the response. I felt like I wasn't in it alone. I had all of you guys. We had to call them when we got there, and that was kind of the first hurdle. I had to call about 15 times before I got through. I was then put on hold for another 10 minutes, maybe even 15. Told them that we were waiting, and so they put us on a list, and I felt very relieved that I at least knew he was going to get in to see the vet. Now, this vet is really great, but his wife, who runs the front desk, is a bit of a pill, and I guess because of COVID, she's even more of a pill. So she was very rude with me on the phone. But I knew that it still was the right place to be for Elfin. We waited in the car. So they finally called in 2 hours later, and I was to take the cat and meet them at the front door. And I got to tell you guys, this was incredibly hard for me. I was not allowed to go inside with him. I could not be there for the appointment. I know how scared he was, but really I had no choice, of course. And the vet called me maybe 30 minutes later. He wanted to put a catheter on him and needed my permission about another half hour later, and told me that he was going to have to sedate him because he could not get the catheter in. He felt that Elfin had a stricture in his penis, which means basically there was some kind of scar damage in there, probably from the crystals passing through. So he had a great amount of difficulty trying to get the catheter in. Then they called me back and told me that, of course, he would have to stay the night and they were going to watch him. They took blood. They did an x-ray, or I'm not sure if it was an x-ray or if it was an ultrasound. The good news was he had no crystals whatsoever. I did check on him later that afternoon. Again, extremely hard to get through on the phones. He got put on hold for a long time. He was resting after having the catheter put in, and he was not eating. Now, last time he spent a week there, I visited him sometimes twice a day, but I definitely was there once a day. So to not be able to visit my cat while he was at the vet was just so hard for me. I called the second day, but I couldn't get anybody on the phone until almost noon. I did not hear back from anybody for another couple hours. His blood work was all really good, so that was really good news. And they told me that his urine was also clear, so that was a very good sign. He had an IV where he was getting some nutrition, but he was not eating at all. I again posted on social media. I was getting so many comments, people wanting to know how he was, and I appreciated so much. Everybody was so patient with me. I was getting so many comments, I couldn't respond. But I read every single one of them, and sometimes I read them more than once. By day 3, I was starting to really be a mess. I had talked to the vet Wednesday night, and we had decided that he was going to stay till Friday because the vet was not in the office on Thursday, and we did not want to chance taking out that catheter and having him not be able to pee. I would have to call till finally I got through, and then I'd have to wait online. And then if I had to deal with the wife, it was really, really uncomfortable for me. But I couldn't see him, and so I didn't really know how he was. He really wasn't eating. And for Elfin, that's kind of a big deal because Elfin is a big eater. I learned that he has FLUTD, which is feline lower urinary tract disease. And it's not a specific disease, but rather it's a condition that can affect the urinary bladder or urethra of cats. And that was thanks to several of the people that were commenting on my posts. I got so much information and learned so much from so many people. I just can't tell you how thankful I was for that. So on Friday, they decided that they would indeed take the catheter out. So they called me Friday afternoon and said, okay, you can come pick him up in an hour. I got the bathroom that is off of my bedroom. I got that all ready. I made it into his bathroom suite. When a cat has been at the vet, as some of you I'm sure know, they smell funny, they're stinky, and so the other cats in the house find it very offensive. I wanted to prepare for that because I knew that I would eventually have to integrate him back into the house with the rest of the Furballs. So I brought him home, put him in there, and I was just shocked when I took him out of the carrier. He looked like he'd lost like 3 pounds or 4 pounds, and he was not a fat cat. He's now very, very skinny. But the good news was he ate right away. As soon as I gave him food, he ate. He was just so happy to sit in my lap. And he was pretty quiet for the most part. Was monitoring the cat box, but he didn't pee. He didn't pee at all. The rest of the Furballs were very, very interested in what was going on there. They were all hanging out at the door and looking in there. After a long night in the bathroom, he was really restless and he wanted to come out. So I decided that I would edit a video that day, and I just sat in my bed the entire day, and that cat never left my side. He was such a mess. Well, really, we were both a mess. I hadn't really been sleeping very well. He just had to be touching my body at all times. I know, the poor thing. He was just like constantly asking for pets. And he did go ahead and use the cat box a number of times, but it was really mostly a dribble. The vet checked in and said just keep giving him his meds. There really wasn't much else to do but wait it out. Just kept talking to me. Oh, he never stopped talking. And he would not go to sleep. At 9:30, finally, he dozed off on my pillow. The rest of the Furballs were really very polite about being kicked out of the bedroom. Obviously, as you know, cats don't like closed doors. They are smarter than many people give them credit for. They knew that something was wrong with Elfin. So Sunday, he seemed a little better. He still just wanted to be attached to my body at all times. I decided to start introducing some of the cats to him. So I started with Fairy, gave him a sniff, and made that really funny face. You know how when they smell something they don't like and they just make that really funny face? Didn't smell good. Then I let Yogi in a little later. Same thing. He was pretty good about it. He smelled him and he didn't like the smell either. So he left. Merlin came in and just decided to hang out with us. Buddha came in and Buddha is not a big fan of Elfin's anyway. He was really hissy and basically we had to ask him to leave. We saw Elfin go into the litter box and he peed. He peed just a little bit. I was so excited that he peed. He would go in there over the next few hours, maybe 20 times and just pee a little bit. The vet thought that this was really a good sign. When I posted on social, there were a number of people that thought that this was a terrible sign, but I just decided I'm going to just have to wait it out. So over the next few days, I talked to a lot of people that have gone through this type of thing with their cats. He still was not peeing normally. I think we were at day 11. And so now I was starting to get really worried that he was going to have this PU surgery. And that is basically where they have to cut off his penis and restructure things so that he can pee. And even though many people told me that their cats had come through that surgery very successfully, because Elfin is 13 years old, there was the aspect that he was an older cat, and 5 to 10% of cats can die from this surgery. Also, I certainly didn't want to put my cat through a major surgery if it was unnecessary. And then there was the cost that it could cost anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, which I also did not have that money. So I was really starting to worry. I had a number of products that were recommended to me, and I was also using Rescue Remedy to keep him calmer. I had also over the weekend ordered a number of these products, and the one that I felt might be the most helpful was this PetAlive Natural Homeopathic UTI product. As soon as we got that, I started him on it immediately. You have to give it to him every half hour for over a 3-hour period, and then you give it to him 3 times a day. By the next day, I could tell he was starting to do better. But then I saw blood in the cat box, and so I thought perhaps I was wrong. But what I believe happened is that something passed with that blood, because as soon as I saw that blood, he was able to start peeing normally. He didn't make the numerous trips to the cat box. I decided by the following Monday that I was going to have to start kind of integrating him into the rest of the house. Started to give him cone breaks when I could monitor him in the bedroom. I could tell that he was feeling better. He started to become more independent and not so needy. Now, here's the thing that I was not told by my vet. You have to realize the stress that they're under because of COVID, but I was lucky enough to have a number of really smart friends on YouTube and Facebook that let me know that, because of the catheter and what he had gone through, that he probably had quite a bit of swelling. And so as that swelling went down, that is when he would be able to pee. And that is exactly what happened. We're a month away from this now, and this whole thing started July 21st. Things are pretty much back to normal over here. He is peeing a normal amount for him. He is doing just great. He's gained some of the weight back. So I've put a number of things into place that were recommended to me in hopes of preventing something like this from happening again. And I also would like you guys to tell me if you have been through this with your cat, and if you have anything to recommend to me. Because UTIs and crystals and these types of things are very common with cats, many people have had to deal with this. I thought it would be a good idea to do a video where we could share resources. And if we can catch the signs early enough, we can prevent something like that. It's much more serious in male cats. If they get blocked, they can die very quickly. And I had heard from a number of our friends that they had had cats that had died from this. It's why both times that this has happened with Elfin, I did rush him to the vet. I know there's a lot of people that are dealing with sick cats and having to take them to the vet during COVID. I wanted a place where people could talk about that in the comments. I bought the PetAlive Natural Homeopathic UTI-Free Granules. That is the first thing that I gave him. I also have a bottle of Tinkle Tonic. I invested in a Pioneer Pet Raindrop fountain, which you can see here. I only hooked it up yesterday, and so far I have not seen a single cat use it. But it sure is cool looking. I bought a number of treats on Chewy that were cranberry relief urinary support type treats. I bought 2 different ones, thinking that Elfin would turn his little freckled nose up at them, but he loves them. Oh my gosh, he just sees me get the bag and he just goes crazy. We also have the Royal Canin urinary feline cat treats. They need a prescription as well. He is on a strict urinary diet. We get both the urinary SO morsels and we just the plain low urinary food. So I supplement that with the Purina Pro Plan urinary tract wet food. There is no prescription needed for that. I have a bottle of distilled water that has just a tiny bit of Bragg's apple cider vinegar in it. Actually, everybody gets that in the house. I start out with just a tiny bit in the water, and I just add a little bit more so they kind of get used to it. I add a little water to everybody's food. And then sometimes with Elfin, I'll actually make kind of a broth and give him a separate bowl with just, I'll put water in his food and then I'll drain that out and kind of make a broth with it. So I want to make sure that he's getting water in other ways because that's going to be very important for him. Luckily, my little weirdo is doing great and still sleeping on the bed every night. Doesn't like to stray too far from me, but so many people were just so kind to me and took so much time with giving us advice and telling us about resources. The support that we got and still even the follow-up questions about Elfin and finding out how he was doing, I think that's how I really got through it. So thank you so much. I am just so grateful for all of you.